I'm doing a show at the Glasgow International Comedy Festival. It's called Why Am I Like This? It's about love and all sorts of shit, but basically I roast everyone I've ever met. If you like what I do here, get your tickets now. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Out on a Limb. I'm here with my friend Tattoo Dave, and say hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. It's good to have you. So what we got to chat? I've went and looked at your extensive list of things in life that you do and have done. So I'll take you through. We're going to talk about that. I'll take you through a bunch of questions, get you a good grilling, and we'll do some the quick fire questions, which every time always lands up being like 40 minutes and not 10 that I intended it to be. That's it. We'll do that, and you can plug some stuff because you've obviously got loads of stuff coming up. So
amazing.
Say hello to the people.
Hello everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this will be entertaining and enjoyable.
We'll try our best. Yeah. Cool. So then the intro spin.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yes. Doing a podcast about stand-up comedy. It's Out on a Limb.
So I've met. How did we meet? We've just met randomly on gigs.
Yeah,
and stuff
we've done a bunch of gigs, haven't we? I couldn't even tell you the first one because there's been that many.
It's just one of the things where it's like some folk you'll end up seeing and talking quite a lot, but I feel like we have passed each other consistently.
Oh yeah, definitely. How long have you been doing comedy for now?
So it's been a year now.
It's been a year, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Aye.
So it's just the odd gig every now and again, a few at the Fringe and stuff. I kept seeing you at the Fringe actually.
I think we were. You were you had a bunch of shows on, I had a bunch of shows on, and I think they were just overlapping. Yeah.
Flitting across.
Yep.
So yes, we'll start with the quick fire stuff.
Okay, cool.
Well, no, we won't start. I'll allow you to introduce yourself if you'd like to say a little bit about who you are.
So I'm Tattoo Dave. Obviously that's not my real name. I'll not do my material. So I'm 47. I'm a tattoo artist and comedian. I've been doing comedy for just over 2.5 years now.
Awesome.
I've been tattooing for 24 years, coming up for 25 as well. Had my own studio for 20 years, so I'm doing something right somewhere.
What's your studio?
It's Archangel 1608 Tattoo Studio. It's on Maryhill Road in the West End, the Upper West End.
The Upper West End.
Yeah.
That's cool. How did you get into tattooing?
So tattooing was something I always tried to get into because I was like the weird art kid at school.
Yeah.
And tried to get into it and I couldn't, so I didn't get a chance until I was 23, 24, and kind of bullied myself into getting the apprenticeship. So I had to travel up and down the road to Perth every day on the train for 4 years. Ended up running that shop, and by that time I knew it was time to open my own place in Maryhill. So that'll be 20 years come April.
Proper grind, like.
Pretty much, yeah. There was always the light at the end of the tunnel of I've
self-employment.
Self-employment, yeah. But I've got to pay my dues, work hard up and down the road to Perth. So the goal was always to be self-employed.
It's one of those like tattooing is just one of those awesome kind of historic industries.
Definitely.
And it's nice to see like it's an art industry that has obviously changed in lots of ways and styles and technology and all that stuff. But it's one of those ones that it's like you pay your dues, you get good, you get in. But it's actually there's a kind of a progression as opposed to most art, which is just like throwing it at a wall and hoping it sticks.
Well, I mean, we can do that with tattoos sometimes. Like I say, I've been tattooing maybe 23, 24 years. Like the change in everything, like absolutely everything, like the quality of the machines, the inks, the needles, our knowledge of how to put the ink into the skin. The marketing thing now, social media, everything it's a totally different craft, if you like, from what it was 20 years ago. And 20 years ago it was different from it was 20 years before that. So it's constantly evolving, which is great and it's exciting.
You'll be horrified to know I have a stick and poke kit on the way to
Oh, really?
Yeah, me and my mate are we've been saying we're gonna do it
Right.
for years. We're gonna give each other like tattoos on each other's feet, which is not gonna last.
Septicemia is a wonderful thing.
Yes, I've got IPA coming as well, like lots of alcohol, just
Wow.
clean it off. Yeah, it's all in honour of our I mean, it's in honour of our friendship and stuff, but it's a wee bit in honour of we've lost a friend recently who's basically like, it's basically like a modern pirate, effectively, just like a crazy, wild person. And so, yeah, we're taking that side. But you talked about social media there.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, because obviously you are very well known for your postings of mad shit people send you about tattoos.
Yeah.
Which came first, the postings or the comedy? Like, because they...
probably just filling people. So for my tattoo page, Archangel 1608 Tattoo Studio, the Facebook page, just kind of struggling for content maybe 5-6 years ago. Instead of constantly posting just pictures of tattoos, I was like, well, actually, we're getting a lot of stupid fucking people messaging the page. I tell these stories, I'll repeat the stories, seems to get a laugh. I'm going to share them. So we, any strange, obscure, rude interactions, we started sharing on the Facebook page. Always blocking the person's name out, because they obviously do have a right to privacy, even though they've acted like a dick. So we've been doing this for maybe since 2018, 2019. The start of the second lockdown, 2020, November 2020, was the biggest screenshot post we've had. The likes on the tattoo page before that were about 9,000. And this really went viral, and I hate to use the term going viral, because it's something your granny says.
Yeah.
So we went from having 9,000 likes to the page to 27,000 in the space of a week, and it's continued to grow since then. We were in every single newspaper, everything you can think of, Board Panda, George Takei, Aussie Man Reviews, everything, Lad Bible, everything, The Poke, we were in everything. And it was kind of good that, we more than tripled the people that liked the page. But I'll be honest, Kat, it was a wee bit disheartening, because I've posted the best tattoos I've ever done in my life. Poured my heart and soul into these things, and they'll get the reach on them will be 3,000 or 4,000, and then me calling some rude guy a wanker.
That's what folk love.
It gets 3.5 million views. So that was, it's kind of snowballed. So every now and again there'll be another post that comes along, and we think, right, this is something people will enjoy. So sorry, your question was, did that come before the comedy?
Oh yeah, you said 2018, so obviously more than 2.5 years ago. Yeah, because I wondered if there was like a correlation. Obviously, if you get into comedy, you started out as a funny person generally. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, comedy's always been in the back of my head, because I'm a narcissist, basically. So, stand in front of a large group of people, hopefully a large group of people having to listen to what I say.
I love it.
It's great, yeah. Thanks again for having me. So it's been there, but there's always been a reason not to do it. And then as time went on, the reasons started getting a wee bit thinner. And I think 2021, the end of 2021, going into 22, I was like, I need to get my finger out of my arse here.
And actually jump in.
And go for it. So yeah, here we are. So my first gig was 3rd of May 2022. So coming up for 3 years next year.
Awesome. Yeah, what was your first gig then?
So my first comedy gig, 3rd of May 2022, it was Red Raw at the Stand.
Oh yeah.
Because I didn't know about open mics. I didn't know the way you should get into comedy is just going to an open mic night.
Yeah.
A fairly relaxed, casual night, just go along, turn up, do 5 minutes, see how it goes. I thought that you would just get your start in a comedy club at Red, which is the purpose of Red Night, Red Raw. If people don't know, it's a new material, new act night at the Stand Comedy Club.
See, that's sensible to actually explain to folks, because I just talk about things like people know.
So just kind of turned up. Didn't do terribly fortunately, there was a couple of very friendly people in the green room and said, like, oh, this is nuts doing this for your first time.
Yeah.
So they explained about the Scottish comedy forums, different pages on Facebook, where you'll find out about the open mic nights and do that. So
yeah, there's quite a lot of folk that I've landed up meeting just recently, because obviously you get like an influx every like 6 months of folk who just didn't know about the forum or didn't know like the options. A lot of folk do just start out at like Red Raw, which is brave and wild and quite a scary one for your first one, if like, as you know the history of the place.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, also because I think the Red Raw nights, particularly in Glasgow, they always sell out. So you've got 150, 180 people there for your first gig. And
big high.
Yeah, it's an amazing high. As I say, like, I didn't do terribly, I didn't do well, but I didn't die in Mars. So I was buzzing after that. The next gig I did was in Salsa to like 12 people. So you're getting up here, then you're down. But again, it's going back. It's like paying your dues.
Yeah.
And I think as a comedian, I've had to, and I'm still doing the same things I did when I was learning to tattoo. I'm kind of paying my dues. I think that last gig we had together, like, there's no bad gigs, but when you're in a big room and there's maybe only 10 people there, it's quite disheartening.
Yeah.
But it's a chance to try new material and just to learn different things.
I've found that I really enjoy, weirdly enough, like the sort of worse the situation, like for the promoter, the better the situation for me. Okay. If I could just come, because I've noticed that I've done 2 Red Raws now, and I've went up and I find myself so tense and so nervous beforehand, and it's, you know, I'm like, oh, also this is going to be like it's a good audience, right? So you're like, oh, I know I'm going to get laughs. It's going to be fine. I know my material is good enough. But, I mean, your material doesn't really matter. It's about how you perform it. And, I mean, your material has to be at least a certain level, obviously. But it's about how you put it out, and you can have the best material on the planet, and if you walk out there with a bad attitude, they can all smell it. And so both of my Red Raw gigs, I felt were just like, I was like, they're all right. I've got my feedback. To be honest, both times I got my feedback, I was like, fair enough. I mean, it's not the assessment I would give it, like the reasons behind it, like, but like one of them said like seemed over rehearsed, and I looked back at it and I was like, no, this is me making 101 mistakes. This is the opposite of rehearsed. But I can agree that like it didn't go down the best. Again, it wasn't like terrible, but it wasn't amazing. Did you get feedback for your first?
I always get feedback. And the feedback from my first time, it was like he hates his wife and his kids. And I did a bit. It was a bit that I've kind of rewritten in the past 6 months, and it's basically just saying like, I'm a guy in a household full of women.
Yeah.
That was it. Like, I didn't complain about my wife or my daughters, but they've interpreted as he hates. And I've always been very conscious of not being a comedian because it's I hate my wife, I hate my family, because it's so fucking hack.
It's overdone.
There's so many guys do that now, and for me it's outdated and it's lazy, and I'd never make a joke saying it's shite. You know, it's the joke's always on me.
Yeah, surely, hopefully, you're happy with your life. Like
100%.
It's I don't understand that kind of. I think it's cheap. I think it's like it's easy to go for like the lazy sex joke or the it's alright. I think if it's a throwaway thing when it's like, oh, it comes to mind because of something somebody says in the audience or somebody said something before you. Like we did Mackie's gong the other night, and when he was shouting out like 2 minutes, somebody, I can't mind who it was, went like, oh, that's usually what my wife said or something, and then you go, because it's like, that's stupid. But like, I do get that, is that you see the set, you can almost see the folk coming, the ones who are going to do it, and you're like, okay, this is going to be about how you hate your wife or how woke the world is, or like...
So I think, and this is probably a terrible generalisation, but I think older male comedians fall into that trap. I know I'm saying this as an older male comedian, but I think there's a lot of guys and they want to do the fucking like the Billy Connolly jokes, or that bracketed sexist blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
As you say, like you can see it coming, and it's just fucking, it's nothing new.
It's so much better when someone goes up and talks about something like that is like refreshingly just about something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I like Steve Mitchell again. He's an older male comic. I like that he goes up and I've seen him do bits about like obviously he was on that gig as well, but I've seen him do bits of about his time in the yards and stuff like that. And he makes jokes about how the world is different now, but the whole joke is how mad it was then as well.
Exactly.
And it's like it's about doing. You can make those jokes, but do them in a way that it doesn't say the boring standards.
Of course.
Like thing, for sure. So what did your feedback say for your first one then?
So it was he kind of just hates his wife and kids. And I couldn't even tell you, maybe that stuck in my mind. So I was like, how dare you? And it was just like, he did okay, like the crowd seemed to like him. And obviously, I've done a bunch of Red Draws now at the 3 venues. My feedback's getting better all the time. Although the last feedback I had from September, it said, same as yours, it seemed over-rehearsed.
It's an annoying
but I mean, so kind of, and I actually watched it back, and I think because some of the material I've done 100 times, so it is just, it's almost like muscle reflex.
Yeah.
So you're maybe not committing to it as much. Plus, I'm sure at the stand, whoever's writing the feedback, they've heard some of that stuff 4 or 5 times as well.
If they've seen you before, they'll be able to start making comparisons as well.
Yeah.
And so it's about your growth.
Aye. But they did say I was a good, solid Red Draw act as well.
That's good.
Whatever that means. So we'll take it.
You've been well selected, I guess.
Yes.
No, that's cool. So why did you start? Like, what was the thing that went, today's the day?
So, off the back of one of the screenshot posts, I'll give you the condensed version because I've spoken about this before. Off the back of one of our screenshot posts, a guy got in contact with me saying he was looking for somebody for a new TV show, a pilot they were doing. So it was myself and my eldest daughter Kendall, who's now doing comedy as well, and we kind of had to do an audition, and we were asked to do an audition for this show. Did a couple of pilots for it, didn't go anywhere, but the guy said, I've worked for this very famous TV show, I legally contractually can't say, right, I will explain the format and everybody will know.
Okay.
So he said, I used to work for this TV show, I think you and your daughter would be perfect for it, do you mind if I put them in touch? So we were like, yeah, okay, that's cool. It's like Friday night, Channel 4 maybe. He says it's going to be just you watching a lot of TV, and I was like, right, okay. Everybody knows what it is now.
Yes.
So we did a bunch of auditions for that as well. We get through to the final, to the point where we actually had the film crew in the house, and the stuff they filmed with us on that day, if we'd been selected for the TV show, that would have been shown the next Friday. They picked other people. But as we were doing the auditions, you're going around, you've got to sign a different contract, and there's different stipulations. So in one of the contracts, it basically says you cannot use your newfound TV status, fame, to like open a supermarket or to promote a comedy night, blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh, there's another reason I can't do stand-up comedy. So as we kind of went closer, after filming what would have been on TV, a day went past, this. I don't think we're getting this. If we don't get this, I'm going to apply to do comedy, right? Because I've run out of excuses now, and they've fucking told me I can't.
This might lock me in.
Yeah, so I'm going to do it. So basically, we had a Zoom with them, and they said, we've picked this other family and not you. And I was like, right, okay, that's fine, whatever. Finished the Zoom, went on the Stand website for Red Draw, filled out the application, sent it away. So that was the final kind of kick up the arse. And here we are.
It's worked out.
It must have been about 3 years ago we did that whole TV thing. Because there was the application for Red Draw.
Yeah.
So that was the final bit. And over the years, there's been different reasons why, I can't do comedy because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I don't have time. And that was just the final push.
It's like, well, if I had the time to do this, then I have the time to do something else.
Exactly, yeah. And I think there's part of my wishes I'd started to do comedy a lot earlier. Because I see young guys coming through, and a lot of the guys I gig with, a lot of my good friends in comedy are like in their 20s. Like they're half my age. But there's also, I think if I'd started doing comedy in my 20s, I wouldn't have had the ability to take feedback. I would have just went, fuck you, you're wrong, I'm going to keep doing it this way.
The angry young man syndrome.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have had that. So I'm probably, I've started doing it at the right time for me.
I totally get that, because I think I'm 29. I have the thing for me that made me do comedy, because it was always a thing in the back of my mind, and I just sort of had put myself in a box as a person who wasn't funny, and I don't know why, because all my pals would say that I'm funny and stuff, but I just don't. I'm like, nah. But I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it when I was younger, and the thing that made me do it was my mum passed away, and the last thing she said to me, I'd made some stupid facetious joke, and I said, sorry mum, I'm just being stupid, literally on her deathbed, and she went, no, keep doing that, always keep doing that.
Wow.
And then she passed, and I saw the thing for the course come up, and I was just like, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
Because and every time when I start to go, oh, I can't do this, I'm in the back of my mind, I know I'm not going to give it up, because I'm just like, no, actually, I've wanted to do this all along. Wow. I remember being 10 years old, watching Russell Howard or someone, and falling off the couch laughing,
Amazing.
I'm like, no, I always thought that was never going to be possible.
Right, okay.
And then it's so funny how much joy it brings, even if it is just to 5 people at a dingy pub. You come off and you're like, yes, king of the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's much harder to make 5 people laugh than make 50 people laugh.
Because they all feed off each other.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
5 different tastes potentially.
Yep.
So.
Oh well.
Yeah,
your origin story is far better than mine.
It's just a movie, innit?
Watch the big TV.
Are you then because obviously you and your daughter were doing that? Are you just all performery people, or is it just you two?
So my wife isn't. My wife hates any kind of attention at all.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. My youngest daughter, she's 17. She's the funniest person in the house. 100%, she's the funniest person. So there's times she'll say something in the house and it's so fast and it's so sharp and it's perfect, and I kind of Kendall and I are just paving the way for her to go into comedy.
In the dynasty.
Yep,
the tattoo dynasty.
If any one of us is going to make it, I think Louise's going to make it before anybody else, because she's just it's
savage.
She's just much in the same way like Jack Trainer. Jack Trainer is one of the best comedians in Scotland, and I don't just mean at open spot level. I mean in Scotland. He
stands up. He could stand up with any pro and just be fine.
Yeah, and it's effortless, and I think Cass will be the same. Yeah. If she chooses to do it, and I think she will, purely because her sister's doing it.
And just be like, I'm going to beat you.
But she's just got that effortless, funny bones thing. So our house is fucking terrible all the time. It's terrible. And my wife, she's really funny as well. She's got a really dry sense of humour, to the point where if you don't know her, you think she's being rude, but she's not. She's being funny, and she's been brilliantly funny.
That is one of my favourite people, because it's that was my granddad was like that, and he'd be sat there. No one else understood my granddad because no one paid enough attention, and he would just suddenly drop something out, without. I've got an uncle who's a pilot, and he'd got a new girlfriend at the time, and someone had said oh, I wonder how he met her, and my granddad just so quietly said, I imagine he put his plane on our landing strip, just so quiet. Nobody else heard it, and I was crying. I must have been 13, just rolling on the floor, crying my eyes out. Everyone's looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Did you not hear?" This is this, old man, like bald, like big glasses, big ears, just trickles out in this droll English accent. I was so like, it's just. There's so many people in my family as well who are just like comic geniuses, but for all different reasons. Like, because there's one side of them where it's like we'd all get together and it's like a bunch of cackling witches, and so you're just throwing pelts at each other non-stop. And then on my mum's side of the family, they're all very like grand storytellers who just have somebody like you'll have like the way Billy Connolly used to do it, that traditional way. It's like have you in the grips of a story. My Uncle Gordon's one of those amazing folk because he'll just have you right in it, and then you'll suddenly realise that he's telling the plot of Jaws, and you'll be like, what? We'll all be falling about, and there's just folk around like, what is going on? And weirdly enough, I seem to have the same fascination with Jaws because I write a new joke about Jaws every like 2 months. I don't know why. I've never even seen the whole movie. I'm just, I just always have a way to talk about Jaws.
Yeah,
it's top quality. So you'd said to me about the family roast then.
Yes.
So when did you do this? What was the?
So Kendall's 24 now. She did her first gig at the Edinburgh Fringe last year. She was coming through just to help me.
So young.
So I mean, she Kendall's been a bunch of shows. Like all the kind of guys I gig with, they all know her. You know, have a laugh with her. So the Fringe last year, she was coming through, helped me fly her for some shows. And she'd said a couple of times, like, Dad, if somebody pulls out, I'll step up. And I was like, very good. Sure enough, like halfway through the Fringe, we were on the train, somebody pulled out a gig, and I went, right, you're up. And she went, okay. And I was like, oh, really? And she went, yeah. And she brought a notepad, and she had all these jokes written down. And I was like, fucking hell.
I'm ready.
Okay. So I had a show in the afternoon, so we flyered that, did the show. I think we had like 2 or 3 hours before the 9 o'clock show. So I sat down with her, I said, right, do it. So she went through it, I said, okay, change this, move this joke here, blah, blah. And then she just got up. She like knocked it out of the park, proper knocked it out of the park. It was a full room, there's only 30 people there. I think a lot of the guys found out she was doing it, so they came along as well, so that was really nice. I was hosting. So I had to like introduce her on stage, and I was like
crying.
Honestly, I get the biggest laugh of the night because I'm going, like, this is what it's all about, you know. This act's doing their first ever stand-up gig at the Fringe. They've stepped in. I've got the honour of presenting, and then I was like, my voice was shaking, my eyes were tearing up, and all the guys were like, they were laughing. But I got up, and she was great. She was meant to do 5 minutes, and she did 7 or 8 because her first 2 minutes were just slaughtering me, like absolutely slaughtering me, and everybody, even the people that didn't know us, loved it. So she got the bug for that.
Yeah, that's an amazing first outing. Like
outstanding, really good.
Yeah.
So off the back of that, it was always in my head like we should do something together, because even when we're not gigging, like we slag each other. We're far too similar personalities. So we came up with the idea of doing the family roast show, which is basically a double header show, which is basically I would get up, I would do the introduction, tell people why we're here. She would come on and respond to what I've said. She would do some material, slag me off, and then I would. So it was kind of backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
So we did it at the Glasgow International Comedy Festival this year. And it was really good, actually. It wasn't a perfect show by any means. I think we had about 30-40 people there in tenants, so that's almost a full room.
Yeah.
It was really good, and it was something different as well. Like although we called it family roast, it wasn't a roast battle.
No.
Where you've got 2 comedians just slagging each other. It was just telling stories, mostly about the family or holidays we've had or experiences, and just responding to each other. And there was a few spanners and arcs as well, because she threw in some stuff she fucking wasn't meant to throw in, and that threw me. But ultimately, it made a far better show. So that was good. So I don't think we're going to do it at the next comedy festival purely because of time constraints and stuff. Kendall works in film and TV, so she doesn't get a lot of time to gig when she's working. So I think maybe not next year, maybe the year after that, we would do it again, and we would maybe try and do like a small fringe run with it. Because it's a really unique selling point. Father and daughter both doing comedy, and it's not like a split bill where I'm doing half an hour and then she's doing half an hour.
Yeah,
or vice
it's a
versa.
different format.
It's backwards and forwards, and it works really, really well. And it would work a lot better.
And it is you kind of get, both of you get better and
Oh, yeah.
improvise and all of that.
Definitely.
Like it becomes more and more. I think that's such a lovely idea. I mean, I'm very much like, I was in a band with my dad, and
wow.
so we've
Awesome.
done like, I love that whole thing of. It's a strange thing, right? Because my dad is not like a fantastic singer or anything, right? Singing is very much my mum's thing, and I genetically gained that.
Right.
But when our kind of voices would come together and things, it would just be like perfect, because it's that vocal cords, and it like sometimes that thing of being genetically the same. It's, you know,
you've learned to speak from your dad as well, so you obviously like your tones and stuff and pitch would be the same. So that's interesting.
It's like I mean, because if you, some of the best bands are all like family bands, and they all have this rich thing. But we used to go and do like it was a rock band. It was awesome.
I was just going to ask what sort of music it was.
So it was we did like AC/DC and Bachman Turner Overdrive, which was good fun. And because my voice will do anything, like it will like I can go and do mad screamy shouty like stuff, or I can like kind of thing. We just did like everything, like bits of blues and like from Black Velvet and all your kind of classics, but then other random ones as well. So we did some pop stuff as well. So we did Chandelier by Sia. But as a rock version, and then Wrecking Ball as well. And my dad had this killer solo in the middle of it, and it just so like fits perfectly in with it. But like I think you get such an amazing thing when you've got a really great relationship. I love the dad and daughter thing.
Like your dad must have been buzzing at that.
Yeah,
he must have loved every second.
He literally, I made him a t-shirt that is like a drawing of my face on me like this, and it says Katie approved. He wears it all the time. So anything, I'll make him t-shirts all the time, and he would just like wear them so proudly.
Brilliant. If my daughters are watching this, I will not wear a t-shirt with your faces on it.
Do it. He will. It's all I. I'll explain to the audience what's just happened.
Cool.
So I just did a wee technical check and realised that half the audio wasn't recording for like 20 minutes there, which is, classic Out on a Limb podcast. So we're just going to continue on. We could redo it, but we think that was quality enough conversation that you deserve to hear it anyway. So we were at a reasonable kind of tweaking point. I was going to go and ask you a bunch of the quickfire stuff, but to be honest, we covered everything within what we were doing there anyway.
Cool.
So, one thing I was actually going to say is that I laughed at, because you mentioned that George Takei had seen that your big viral post.
Yes.
And what was it? A kilty pleasure was how he described you.
Yep.
I thought that was really good, and then I was reading about it, and I can't remember what I was reading, but it says you've been featured in blah 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 blah. Even the Clydebank Post.
Yes. Yeah.
That's just peak. There's no point to that. I just thought that was funny.
I think. I mean I think that quote you're maybe you've seen it. It's like because we're in the New York Post, the Sydney, Melbourne Morning Herald, so it really did go around the globe. And I just thought, do we let's put in the Clydebank Post at the bottom as well.
I've been in the Clydebank Post. I was proud of that. Actually, I was in the Largs in Millport recently with the wrong picture with my name.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whose picture was it?
I think it was Laura Pride. She's quite new. Her. She does like mum material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's funny. I think she came off one of the ultra courses with Viv just like recently.
Everybody seems to be coming off out the ultra course with Viv.
There are some people who are starting just out from themselves, which I think is so. Like Craig Scott is someone who I know did.
Yep.
I think Alan Ritchie went and did a course with Viv, but it was like the advanced comedy course.
Okay,
I wasn't sure if he'd performed before that. And then I think Kieran Power, those three boys are like in love with each other. They're like,
aye.
They're adorable.
Well, Craig Scott got to the semi-finals of the BBC new comedian. Brilliant.
Mental. Pleased that he's my pal.
Yeah.
But just, crazy that it like he comes out swinging and he'll just be like, oh, I'm just going to do like all new stuff. And you're like, what? And it's just like, I'm just going to see what works and what doesn't. And you're like, that's good. That's probably how you develop very fast.
Oh, yeah.
He just throws himself in 100%.
Yep.
So we're talking about the family roast. Well, you were saying you're not going to do it this year, but you'll bring it back for maybe 26.
Yeah, I think so. Aye. I mean, we might do as another work in progress if a slot comes up some point next year.
Yeah, just squeeze it in.
But we'll see. But I say just because of Kendall's work, sometimes she's working like 14-hour shifts, so she doesn't have a chance to get out and gig as much.
And you're burnt when you got time to write and all that. Like that's exhausting. But you are doing a show yourself.
Yes.
A work in progress show.
Work in progress.
Tats Life.
Yeah.
When's that? It's the 29th of March at 9 p.m. on at Tenants.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's good. That saves me having to try and remember it. So it's just a work in progress show, just to manage expectations. So Tats Life, like I find that a lot of my material that I'm doing that seems to work best is more relatable, is just normal life stuff. You know, it's about family stuff. It's about walking my dog. It's about my job, and stuff that's happened to me over the years. And these are the bits of material that always land. So I'm trying to just piece them together to form what will eventually be a full hour, which will probably be well into next year.
So what are you aiming for?
So I'm probably going to do 40, 45 minutes. I kind of know my beginning and the end, and I kind of know what's going to go in the middle, but I don't know in what order it's going to structure. So over the next couple of months, I'll just be trying out different jokes in different orders and see how that fits like the narrative of the story. So I'm really excited. I think, again, I've not even been doing comedy 3 years, so it's a hard sell, and it's probably feeding my ego to do a 40-minute show, 45-minute show on my own. I don't think people should be doing their own show less than that. I know people are, fair enough, like all power to them. It's not for me.
I've decided to do it as well.
Oh really? Okay, right, okay, fuck.
No, it's fine. I mean, I my whole perspective on it is like, do you know what? It's about, I could have 10 folk in the room. It's not about me going and putting out a perfect show.
Yep.
It's about me starting to tell a story, figure out how to do it as a bigger piece.
Oh wow, okay,
and
right, okay.
Basically force me to like write so that I'm doing, because like literally I've done the new stuff that you've seen. I've like came out the gate, done it 10 minutes like right away. And it's worked pretty much right away, which compared to my other stuff like blows my mind. How well it's came out. But I'm just going to do that. It's like, so I'm going to keep practicing that one till the end of the month. Then I'm going to have another 10 to do through January and another 10 to do through February.
Amazing, cool.
And then, you know, some of it's going to be a bit of storytelling kind of thing anyway. So it's not so much just about joke, then joke, then joke. Because it's the same thing. It's about me, and so it's called Why Am I Like This?
Oh, okay, cool.
So because I did that. The stuff I had before, the material I had before, was really about the outside world and what's going on with the planet and it's about me, but it's not really about me. It's kind of about this disjointed way that I fit into things. Whereas, which isn't super relatable. Like the jokes are funny, but it's not. It doesn't make people. When they feel attached to it, they'll laugh a lot harder. I feel, even if the joke isn't necessarily as good, it's just like, oh, that's me. I see myself in that.
Yep.
And not a lot of people are like me in that regard with the whole being an eco-warrior thing. And so when I started doing this new stuff, and it was just me basically slating myself and slating all the idiots I've been out with, it seems people are really responding to it a lot better. Cool. Like, I've had so much positive feedback.
Brilliant.
So I'm hoping that I can just kind of keep on that trajectory. And also the amount I've learned about writing in the past year from being like able to, writing that first 5 minutes was really hard.
Yep.
And it wasn't bad. It just wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
To being able to keep working on that for like a year, and then at the end of that year being like, I'm proud of that 10 minutes now.
Sure.
To being able to write a 10 minutes that I was immediately proud of, it's like life changing. So what's your kind of process for writing?
The majority of stuff I come up with is when I'm out with my dog, because we go out on a hike, and I'll just see something, and it'll either spark a memory, or it's an interaction with other fucking dog owners.
Yes.
and it just takes me down the road, and then when I'm walking the dog, I'll go through it, or I'll make wee notes on my phone as well. There's stories I've told over the years, just an anecdote when I'm tattooing somebody or you're at a party, and it's just come into my head, like, I can strip that back and rewrite it as a joke. So I don't have one particular process, but it's basically when I am alone with my thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's when stuff starts to come together.
I think for me, like, it's the same thing. It's like just noting something down when you've just said it, and then I'll sit down and be like, right, I'm going to write now. And if I try and write like a full-fledged joke, it's never going to happen. So I just sort of go through all the various things until something tickles me, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to write about that. I'm not going to try and write jokes. So a lot of it will be like lead up to the punchline, and then like star something funny here,
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to that later and be like, oh, I've just thought of something for that.
Right.
So it's a really like patchwork process of just like stitching other bits in and
awesome.
Because a lot of the time, like, I find, especially now that I'm talking about stuff that is personal, it's like I'll be telling the story because it's something I've probably told about 30 times in my life before. And then you tell it a different way and you suddenly go, that's it. That's the punchline. Yeah. And that's like a great moment. And by the way, I totally agree with you. Folks shouldn't be like doing a show within a year, like working for a year and then deciding to do a show. It's just like...
Well, you've kind of put pressure on yourself to write now.
Yeah.
So then you've given yourself a focus. So if that works for you...
It's my intention is to always put an excess amount of pressure on myself and fast track myself. Right. It's not going to necessarily get me like suddenly being a professional any quicker. But it's like if I do, if I do 1 gig a week for 10 years, I'll get that in that amount of time. If I do 3 gigs a week, that's 3 years instead of 10. You get the same amount of experience. So same thing, but with writing as well as that.
The more gigs you do in quick succession as well, the better you're going to get. If you're doing, 3 a week every week, at the end of that month, you're going to be sharper than you would be over 2 or 3 months. And
even just that having big breaks is really hard, I find, because it's like I did say the Fringe, and in that like 8 days at the Fringe I did like 20 shows, and that is like a massive acceleration forward. And then I went and did my next gig like 3 weeks later, because I was like, I need a bit of time off. Did it 3 weeks later. It's like, I've forgotten everything.
Your timing's off, your rhythm's off. Big difference.
Just your natural, like, you just get startled by stuff suddenly. Like, I'm very easily distracted. So like I'm something I noticed recently and just in recent gigs is I've kind of been looking over the audience.
Okay.
Like I'm doing a kind of fake looking at them thing, but I'm not really like actually engaging with what they're doing because I'm nervous and I'm like,
okay, got you.
So try to recognise things like that and just stick it in the list of things of how to be better.
Brilliant. So when and where is your show, Kat?
It is on the 27th of March at Dram at 8:30.
Brilliant.
So it's like that maxes out at like 50 people or something. And I can nag all my family and pals to go if I want folk in there. It's all going to just be me insulting them anyway, so they might as well come and see it. It's an opportunity to get good at roasting, because that is something I'm determined to do.
Right, okay,
I keep telling Jack, I'm like, Jack, I need to get in a roast. He's like, have you done one yet? I'm like, no, I need to get on a roast. Because that's my whole life has just been me accidentally insulting people. I might as well do it intentionally.
Amazing.
You've done
a bunch of roasts? Yeah. So I lost my very first roast.
That's a real.
Which was against Kirsty Morrison, who at the time I didn't know she'd had about 20, 25, 30 roasts previous. Like she's won rap battles against MC Hammersmith. So she was like elite, and then I was like, I've got a chance here, and she fucking destroyed me. And then I went on to, I think, my 3 roasts after that, won them all clearly. And then I've lost my last 3, so I'm into negative figures again. So I've done 7, lost 4, won 3. But the people I've lost against are really, like Jack Trainer. I've lost against Jack Trainer, Kyle Samuel as well. They were both like worldwide. They were in the top 5 new roasters this year.
Because Jack's going Jack's taking off with it. He's one of the MVPs this year. So it's like, what did you learn then from the wins and the losses? So
like I don't know if you learn too much from a win as opposed to a loss. I think just the writing process, like the challenge of having to write a finite amount of material in a small amount of time that the majority of you're never going to use again.
Yeah,
it's quite good, because it's really specific. But it's kind of interesting. Just for me, it was a totally different way of writing, because if you're doing a roast battle against somebody, basically they'll send you like an information sheet, and it's got 10, 20 different points on it, and you're allowed to make fun of these points. So you've got it in front of you, and you're going like, where's the funny in this? Where's the insult in this? So it was a good challenge. So I think it basically just taught me writing roasts, just a different way of writing material, as opposed to like, you learn more from a lot. For me, as long as it's been a good roast, I would like to win, but ultimately, as long as it's been a good show, you put on a good show, that's all that matters.
I like that thing of turning, actually, because I did a couple like pun offs through Fringe. And at first I thought puns were really easy to write. Puns are not easy to write.
Good puns are not easy to write.
And I managed to win one of I did 2 and I won one of them. And the other one, it wasn't that I didn't win, it was just like, I didn't win, but I was like, it was something like 30 degrees in the room. It was absolutely boiling. It was totally full, and my jokes did well, the ones I'd pre-written. But then when I came to do the improvisation section, because he does a whole big bit of that, they just shout out, and you have to make a joke up on the spot. And my brain just went. So I did a bunch of really terrible puns, so I didn't feel any shame about losing.
That's fair.
But I like that thing of churning jokes, because it doesn't mean that the joke can't come back. It just means it can't be used the same way.
Exactly.
And it's all just the practice of getting your brain to switch on.
Definitely.
Definitely easy if you have a list in front of you.
Definitely. The good thing I've noticed about the first few roasts I did as well, some of them were just generic insults. So I've been at a gig where somebody's heckling, and like if there's a bald guy heckling, I can use my bald guy roast that I wrote for somebody else. I can just fire it at them. So sometimes it's cool to have the roast in your back pocket, because although you've used them for a specific person, further down the line it can help you dealing with an unruly crowd.
See, I think for me, what's going to come out when I start to do it is, or what I'm going to try and channel is this person this like angry maw that comes out of me when I'm annoyed by somebody, and like not for me, for like annoyed because of how they've treated someone else, or like that person comes out, because I'm notorious for just being like, that's a fucking cheat coming from somebody who looks like a Scotch egg, like it's just that sort of thing, but try to make it. Obviously, for like a roast, it's taking that sort of generic insult and then applying it to the person specifically, and bringing in other elements of it that makes it cleverer. Because it's like, it's the same thing with a pun. If you tell a pun and it's just a flat like one part joke, that's like ha ha ha. But if you can like bring in 3 pun elements, it's like a slam dunk.
Absolutely.
And I really want to do a roast. I'd love to roast Alan J. There's already a joke there about spit roasting. Immediately came into my head. So, like,
Alan's really good at roast as well.
Yeah.
Like really, really good. Like Alan's writing's always been very sharp, very clever, and I think that translates very well into roast as well.
Yeah, he's very hard edged in what he says.
Oh yeah,
it's really like tough stuff.
Yeah, but he's instantly likeable as well. Yeah. So he gets away with doing the harder stuff.
He's my sis.
Like if somebody else does hard material but they're not as likeable, I think the crowd can turn on them.
Because it seems mean. It's like such a fine line.
But Alan's just such an instantly likeable person as soon as he walks on that stage.
He's so good at making fun of himself, which just immediately puts people like at ease.
Yeah.
The last thing that I would like to talk to you about, you're branded already.
Yes.
You're show the crowd.
Wholesome prison blues.
So I mean, explain, tell the gang.
So for the past 2 years now, just over 2 years, myself and 5 other comedians have been doing stand-up comedy in prisons across Scotland. Which is it's hard to believe it's 2 years.
Yeah.
I think we've only got HMP Grampian and Dumfries, which are at either ends of the country. They're the only 2 that we've not done so far.
Really?
And it's just logistics, like travelling up to Grampian, which is Peterhead, at the other side of Aberdeen. So
a long way.
So they have reached out to us now, and they've basically said, like, we want you to come and perform in the prison. You know, we will pay for you to come up, awesome. But for a 3-hour journey, we need to try and tie that in with a public gig in Aberdeen, Peterhead, somewhere else as well. So logistically, we can't do that. At the moment, it's something that we're trying to make happen in the new year. But yeah, I think we've done about 30 gigs in prisons now.
It's an amazing thing. I remember when I saw it the first time, it must have been, I was really early in starting, so it would have been like at least 9-10 months ago or something. Right. I saw it the first time and I was like, immediately, like, that's brilliant. Like, what a good thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Because people are very harsh on people in the prison system. Yep. You don't know people's backstory, you don't know why someone's there, or what happened in their life to get them there. Some folk are cunts. Oh, no, but 100%. Like, it doesn't mean...
I mean, to my
mostly
shame,
good people.
Yeah, like to my eternal shame, I didn't realise like so much about being in prison or the work the prison service do until we started this project. And I think it's quite a high percentage. I think it's between 60 and 70% of people are in prison because of crimes they've committed from some sort of substance abuse, drugs or alcohol abuse.
Yeah.
And people have drugs or alcohol abuse problems because of childhood trauma. So it's not like somebody's, you know, I used to be of the opinion, well, somebody's made the decision, I'm going to go out, I'm going to steal, or I'm going to do this because it makes my life easier. When in actual fact, they're going out and they're having to steal because of a dependency on drugs or alcohol or something else, or try to feed their family.
There's a lot worse people who should be in prison who aren't, you know, who are living the high life on yachts. And I have like I do poetry as well, which I feel is unsurprising. But it's like, is it just over about what counter you bought, or the fact that you didn't get caught?
No, exactly.
Because it's just like there's so many that I've done a lot of things that could quite easily have put me in jail, even just from being 18 years old and too drunk in public, do you know, and I just, you know, screaming at somebody because I'm a crazy 18-year-old child who's depressed. Like, mad stuff happens, and I come from a very fortunate background. I've got my parents who are very on hand and, well, not now, but like were very present, very supportive, gave me so many opportunities. I grew up in a town where things were like very calm, pleasant, nice, and I still landed up with an alcohol issue and miserable and doing stupid stuff to myself and for other people, and I managed to, thankfully, through support of other people and mostly just getting through it, because you grow up and you age, and eventually, like, little bits of support from the good people around you trickles in, and it makes things better for you. But I had that afforded to me. Hundreds of folk don't.
Exactly.
And it's very easy to just get yourself in a bad situation. Why do those people not get to laugh?
So, like, I think anybody in the world is like 3 or 4 decisions away from ending up in prison.
Yeah.
So one of the things we noticed straight away was, like, a lot of the guys are just naturally funny in there, and speaking to the prisoners. We used to have to call them residents. You weren't allowed to call them prisoners when we started this, but you're now allowed to call them prisoners again. So the residents, speaking to the staff as well, like 90% of their day in prison is about it's just banter.
Yeah.
It's like
what
roasts.
else you got to do?
Yeah, it's like slagging each other. If you don't slag somebody back, you're just going to get it tighter. So they're naturally funny people. Paddy, Linton and I, we've just finished teaching a comedy workshop at Barlinnie, which we did throughout September, October. At the end, we had 2 shows, and some of the guys that did the workshop performed at both shows.
That's awesome.
Which is great, very exciting. And again, a couple of these guys just had funny bones. They're just naturally funny. We did lose one guy because he got bailed. So halfway through the course, like, this guy was going to be the star of the show, right? Man. He just had all these stories, and we were like, change this bit, and you're golden. And this guy would walk into any comedy club and tell one story, and he would kill, metaphorically speaking. And we went in, I think it was the 4th week, and they're like, yeah, he's got out, he's got bailed. We're like, fuck.
No!
Like happy for him he's out, but like gutted.
Maybe go and do another course, like a
So we're actually trying to find him now, because as we're going to do, so there's other guys on this course as well that we've just done in Barlinnie. Hopefully they're going to be out for March next year. So we're doing a Wholesome Prison Blues public show as part of the Glasgow International Comedy Festival. At least one of these guys is going to be performing with us, and we're going to be quite proud
that's
to
awesome.
share the stage with one or two of them, or whoever we can. So that's going to be great as well. And we're also going to try and do another couple of prison shows for the comedy festival, which will be Lomos Prison in Bishopbriggs and back at Barlinnie as well. So there's loads happening. We're actually doing our first Wholesome Prison Blues roast battles tomorrow in HMP Shots, which is good. Again, last time we were in Shots, we did 2 shows in the same day. Generally find if we're going into prison, it works better for us and it works for the prison if we can do 2 separate shows, because that way they can offer the experience to double the people.
Yeah.
So the last time we finished the second show, just be doing a couple of roasts, and we did this HMP Adderwell as well. And the first couple of roasts, the first couple of jokes, the guys are like, "What's happening here?" And we're like, "It's okay, we're slagging it to our mates." And by the end, like, the place was in uproar. They were fucking loving it. Even the guards, all the staff were loving it as well. So tomorrow's the first official roast that we're doing in a jail.
It's so good. Like,
yeah, it's awesome. It kind of all just stemmed from a love of Johnny Cash, and it's like, well, Johnny Cash has played gigs in prison. Why can't we do comedy in prison?
It's like a brilliant thing, because anything you can do to improve the kind of condition that's in there, the atmosphere, makes it safer for the residents,
Yes.
and safer for the COs, and safer
Yep.
for like the happier environment.
Yeah.
Less, the rehabilitation happens faster.
definitely. Yep.
It's like it's something I really do have a big appreciation for,
cool.
like the whole prison system, because I'm inherently an anarchist. So no, I think like it's a tough thing that we have to have, and anything that you can do to make humans feel like humans is so important.
This is the thing, like that. I think there's a dehumanisation, or there should be. A lot of people, members of the public, think there should be a dehumanisation of prisoners, because they should go into their cell and they should just think about what they've done. But going to prison, that's your punishment. Your time in prison is about rehabilitation. It's about making you a better person, or putting you in a stronger position, so that when you leave prison, you're better equipped to deal with society and to deal with things than you were when you went in. We play a very, very small part in that.
And
but
whole
we
system.
are treating them like people.
And I'd love the idea that someone could do a comedy course in prison, come out, get into comedy, make a success of themselves, and go away with it.
This will happen.
Yeah.
And it's whether it's somebody that we've done a workshop with, or somebody else that's just come out of prison and they've maybe seen one of our shows, or they've seen other comedy shows, or they've just had a world opened to them.
Yeah.
They're like guaranteed, because these are funny people and they just need to channel their energy and their creativity down
into the right
this
thing.
road instead of that road.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love for somebody to be on like live at the Apollo,
That would be
further down the line, and we're like, we knew him.
You just did that.
Yeah.
So who is it? I've looked at before. I knew Paddy and Jack were in
Yes.
it, and then from a thing I'd read, is Amanda and Eddie and Mickey still with you?
Yeah, so the initial six, it was myself, Jack Traynor, Paddy Linton, Mikey Motion, Amanda Hursey and Eddie McKenzie. Amanda stepped away from doing the Wholesome Prison Blues earlier this year. Purely she had too much on.
Yeah.
She had stuff on with her work. She had her own comedy stuff as well. So Amanda kind of stepped away. And like we've all kept in touch. We're all still mates and stuff. Eddie, this time when we started doing Wholesome Prison Blues, Eddie missed the first 4 or 5 gigs because he was doing Santa Claus at the Edinburgh Christmas markets. So Eddie came in as a wee bit later, and now he's getting married early next year, and I think he's moving to Hawaii.
That seems right for him.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think we're going to lose Eddie as well. We have lost Eddie. We've had people step in with us just to perform as one-offs. So Mark Black, actually, he's come in a couple of times. Mark Black's a brilliant comedian. I think he sold out the Pavilion a couple of times. We've had him. Recently we had Mick Murphy step in as well. Mick's such a relatable kind of like working class comedian. We knew he would do well in prison.
Yeah.
Absolutely knocked out of the park. Who else we've had? We've had Jojo Sutherland. She came in and did she did gigs at last year's Edinburgh Fringe inside HMP Edinburgh with us. So as well as we had a full run with Wholesome Prison Blues doing public shows last year at the Fringe. We also did a small fringe run within HMP Edinburgh.
I love that
cool.
you're like bringing the festivals into it, and it's like, because that is, I mean, it is obviously the whole thing. You lose your freedom, like you say. There's so many aspects of that that you just wouldn't even think of. Something like that, being able to feel a part of a bigger thing in your city, things like. Is it just male prisons you go into?
No, so we've done so at the time. HMP Edinburgh was mixed.
All right. Okay.
So I think the majority of gigs we did actually over the Fringe last year in HMP Edinburgh were for the female population. However, the new female prison in Scotland, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, that's now open. So Edinburgh's back to being all male. I think Greenock's maybe all male as well.
Yeah, I'm not obviously not that involved in my knowledge of how the actual UK system works and stuff. It's just
But
Yeah, no, that's cool.
one of the worst gigs we've had as hosting Prison Blues was, it was at Polmont, which is a young offenders, but they had women there as well. So we did the young offenders in the morning, the women in the afternoon. And Amanda was the only act that did well in front of the women. They just hated all of us, apart from Amanda.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand in a way.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just if
And
if you're only around women for a while, you're going to become a wee bit adapted as well.
But just I think certainly I learned a lot of lessons from doing that gig in front of a room full of women. And it's like, this is how Amanda feels
all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
So we had to. I certainly had to go away and go, well, I need to do more relatable stuff.
Human stuff.
Human stuff.
And that must be like such an incredible challenge, because that's immediately what I thought when I asked the question. Because I was like, if I was to do that, I think I'd be quite terrified to perform to.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware when I walk into a room full of rowdy free men who get to have sex whenever they like, let alone being in the scenario of that.
So I know certainly when we started doing the prison shows, Amanda was very nervous.
Yeah.
But she consistently did well.
Yeah.
At every gig. And
she's a tough woman as well.
But
holds her own.
And Amanda has always said, I'm sure she always will say, she never felt threatened, you know, and she always felt safe, secure, looked after, protected within all the prison gigs, as have we all.
Yeah, which is what you hope
which
for.
Is good, which is a credit not only to the staff in the prisons, but actually to the prisoners as well.
Yeah, for
even when they did get
good
out,
environment.
there was nothing out of order, you know, which was good.
Reinforces that it's just humans. Humans try to be
100%.
humans. I feel like I've maybe read this wrong. Did you say you were working on a treatment for a sitcom based on it?
Yeah, so now let me see. Earlier this year, we had a guy contact us through the Wholesome Prison Blues Facebook page. Go and give it a follow. We need follows on that. So he basically said he'd come to see us at the Edinburgh Fringe and the Glasgow Comedy Festival this year. He thought there was an idea for a sitcom revolving around comedians going into prison. And I was like, the fuck are you? Like,
I can see it.
So I kind of did a wee bit of Facebook stalking, recognised his face straight away from both the gigs. And had a couple of Zoom calls with him. So he was like, I don't know what the idea is, but if you guys are interested, I would love to work with you on it. And I'm going, well, this is really cool. He said what production companies look for when they're doing a new project. They want a group of people that are have worked together, they've got chemistry together. And he said that's something that all the Wholesome Prison Blues gigs he'd seen in public. He says, you guys all play off each other, you know each other, you're all funny. He says that's one of the selling points. So I was like, fucking brilliant. So I've chased him up a couple of times and he's like, yeah, I'll get back to you, but nothing's come of it. However, I've been the driven person I'm going, well, fucking hang on, I'm gonna try and
Make
put
this
something
happen.
down now.
Yeah.
So we've written, I think it's called a treatment, which is just a general outline.
Yeah.
That we're kind of tidying, polishing up, because Kendall, my daughter, works in film and TV. She's helped me with that as well, and will continue to help with it. So like nothing yet, but off the back of the success of Baby Reindeer, Ashley Story's Dinosaur as well, there's a lot of money being thrown at Scottish comedy at the moment, and they're actively looking for stuff. So hopefully we'll get to the right person.
I love it because I can just see it as like, you've got like Porridge and like Catherine Tate show, I forgot what it's called, but it's recently set in prison, like these sitcoms set in prison. I just think like it's such a like a tappable resource of the strangeness of humanity, and then it's comedy anyway. And I could, as soon as I read that, I was like, that's actually brilliant, because everything you guys all know, like all of the ins and outs of everything.
So one of the first things we were conscious of doing when we were in the prisons is learning the slang the slang terms.
The culture.
and the culture, just so that, you can throw it out, and it just makes the prisoners know that, like, we're on the level, we're not we're not there to...
present something else.
Yeah. So, like, your co-pilot's your cellmate, your peer's your cell, if you're banking stuff, you're hiding something up your arse. So we, and these things can evolve as well. There's a couple of terms I wouldn't say because we're not meant to know them, because they don't want
the officers to know them. And
the guards find out. But then I put myself in a position now, because I'm like, I'm duty bound as an employee of the Scottish Prison Service. So there's kind of some terms and stuff, but it's the working knowledge of being in a prison that we can hopefully bring to a sitcom, as well as this is what happens when you do comedy in prison, but this is also what happens when you fucking live in the prison. So yeah, hopefully there's we'll get a wee bit of traction with that coming into the new year.
Good luck with that, because it's just a brilliant idea, and obviously the whole project is actually amazing.
Thank you so much. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I just think it's a totally missed demographic of people that, like,
100%.
It's great to know that folk are doing something for.
No, thank you. So the next public wholesome prison blues show is Saturday the 22nd of March, Blackfriars, 6 o'clock. Tickets are only a £5. And as I say, we will have at least one of our workshop graduates performing with us, which we're buzzing for.
Sorry, that's amazing. That's Tat's life.
Tat's life.
So I'll give you a chance to run through that massive calendar of other things in a second. But
awesome.
If there's one comedy lesson that you can take from comedy that would help you in the rest of your life, what would you?
So if there's one lesson from
or
comedy,
something that's taught you in your own experience.
I was going to say not to take yourself too seriously, but that's fucking horrific. What has comedy taught me? Fuck, I don't know. You'll need to edit this to come up with a belter. What has comedy taught me? Do you know, I actually think one thing that comedy's taught me is don't judge people on appearances, because there's people that have walked on stage and I've went, nah, and they're the funniest people I've ever seen. So yeah, don't judge a book by its cover. That's
good advice. Even just like a classic with the. They all exist, those idioms and stuff, they all exist for a reason, and sometimes I find myself being slapped in the face with them by comedy. Yeah. It's a proper hard skill. Like, it's a hard knocks, that's the one, skill hard knocks.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, it's been really amazing to hear about all the incredible stuff you've been doing, because it's
thank you. No, cheers.
A load. So what were they? Remind the gang all the things you're coming up.
So the big show for myself is Tat's Life, which is Saturday the 29th of March, 9 o'clock, Tenants Bar. We've sold just over a quarter of tickets in 2 days. Great. So hopefully that'll sell out soon. Get your tickets, they might all be gone by the time you see this. We're also doing Wholesome Prison Blues public show, Saturday the 22nd of March, Blackfriars, 6 p.m. Tickets are a £5 as well. Between now and then, we will be doing a series of more prison shows. I would recommend coming to see the public show rather than the prison shows, because we're good, but maybe not worth the loss of liberty and freedom is good.
Yes. Well, that's brilliant. Go give Tattoo Dave a like, so Tattoo Dave thinks he's funny. Yes. That's your page, and then Wholesome Prison Blues as well. And go get tickets for all those shows, because you're clearly working your arse off.
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you for coming up.
Brilliant. Thank you, cheers.
Right,
thank you.
Bye, folks.
It's out on a limb.
Hey, if you dug this episode of Out on a Limb, make sure to subscribe for new episodes every month. Come and party with us at the Glasgow International Comedy Festival on the 27th of March at Dram with my show, Why Am I Like This?